Okay. Okay, so we're back on item number 29, A, B, and C. We're back to Mr. Marchese.
Hello, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks for the opportunity to allow me to review that report and kind of just have a quick discussion with my clients. After speaking to my clients, we have no objection to the archaeological recommendations and conditions based on an approval of this application here in front of you today. I would like to thank you for the opportunity again to allow me to review that so we can clear up that issue prior to getting into the application.
Okay, so would you like to start with the presentation? We do have the two other neighbors standing by, correct?
Yep, no problem.
Mr. Chairman, just so you're aware, we had one of the neighbors drop off the call, but we still have Gloria Lee at 48 Portland Street joining.
Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, Sir Chair and committee members. My name is Chris Marchese, a planner at Design Plan Services, and we have been retained by the property owners of 1 Milton Street to present information on this application in front of you today. The application proposes to obtain a consent to sever into 2 residential lots and to construct a single detached dwelling on each lot while demolishing the existing dwelling on the subject property. I would like to note, prior to this application being scheduled on an agenda, planning staff have reached out to recommend a reduction on the second-story terrace to below 10 square meters, which was done, and the variance in front of you does reflect the change at 9.45 square meters. Other than this, now prior to the notification of the heritage conditions, there have been no objection from any city departments regarding the application in front of you today. If I can have planning staff pull up the lot frontage analysis, please. Perfect. So when looking at both these, the immediate context and the adjacent context for lot area and lot frontage, you'll see that lots between 0 and 7.62 meters and lot areas of 2.9 or 292.8 square meters in lot area are the prevailing or the most frequent seen characteristic along Milton Street for the immediate block and the adjacent block just to the north. Based on that, I'm of the opinion that this reinspects and reinforces the existing characteristics of the neighborhood and feel that it meets section 5124 of the Planning Act. In regards to the side yard setbacks, the proposal requests relief from the bylaw to permit 0.6 meters where 0.9 meters is required. The variance is only for the interior side yards to the 2 new proposed dwellings. The side yards are compliant on the exterior setbacks for both parts of this proposal, and I am of the opinion that the 0.3 meter reduction on the interior setback will have no further impact than what the bylaw already contemplates. Variance 4 is related to the exterior main wall height, and I would like to note that there is no overall building height for this proposal. The dwelling proposes ceiling heights of modest 8 feet, and the roof has been designed on the sloped roof with a 612 slope to help mitigate the height from the street. Variance 5 is related to roof eaves projections, and the eaves are only on the interior setback. They are encroaching only 0.1 meters closer than what is permitted and will have no further impact than what the bylaw already contemplates. Variance 6 in relation to the second story terrace, it's actually the first story. It's out from the kitchen, but due to the technical of the proposal, it's being considered the second story. We've actually reduced it. It was higher than 10 square meters, and based on planning comments, we've reduced that lower to 10 square meters to satisfy them. Variance 7 is related to the vehicle access from the flanking street. There's multiple driveways fronting onto Milton Street. It'll be an existing characteristic, and there's been no comments from transportation services in regards to this variance being proposed. Based on that, I'm of the opinion that it meets the criteria for consent under section 5124 of the Planning Act and meets the 4 tests under section 45(1) of the Planning Act, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marchese. Any questions for Mr. Marchese before we move on to hear from the neighbor? Okay, there being none, let's move on to the neighbor at 48 Portland Street, Gloria Lee. Welcome.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So You've registered to speak on this matter?
Yes,
And
I'm the owner of the 48 Portland Street. I'm behind the 1 MILTON Street.
okay.
Yeah, and we live on this street for many years. And then before the former owner, their house is the bungalow house, and then we have a very good view. And then in the summer we have a very good the shadow of the big tree under their backyard. And then in the winter we have a very nice the sunshine, and our window, all the window have a good sun and no shadows. And now I'm wondering, after the house, the two big house built up, I think they have a two floors, right? It's a pretty high. And also the two houses pretty wide. And then before, the only 1 meter house on the land. And our window view is very, very good. And after they build these two houses, and then all the good view and the sunshine, and in the summer, the good shadow will be gone. So I'm really feel concerned about this. And then I saw the map, and then the two houses fully occupied the yard, the land. Their land, and I think only 50 feet, right?
Right.
The two houses fully occupied the land. And then they just beside the road, the Portland Road. And on the Portland Road, there's the bus. And also I drive on the Portland Street every day. And after the house built, I think we will have very, very poor view. And then to watch, to look at another street, MILTON Street, the car cross the Portland Street. So the bigger house will block the view. That's my
So
concern.
you see, it's going to
The
block
first
some
concern is
the
the house
traffic
too high.
It's good, the traffic on Portland. You're saying it's going to affect your views and everything like that. But you're saying it's going to affect the traffic.
Yeah,
You say?
because the house is just on the corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are big, huge, and tall, and then they are long. And then before the house, the former owner, the house is short, it's smaller,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have a very, very good view.
Okay.
And then in the future, they are all gone. And then we will live in the shadow. And in summer, we will explode under the sun, because I think they will tear the two trees. They will cut the two big maple trees.
Well, we'll hear from we'll
Yeah,
ask them to
it's
respond what's happening with the trees. Okay,
sorry?
so we'll ask the applicant to see what there's urban forestry has imposed conditions. So we'll have to see if ask him to respond, the applicant, to let us know what he's doing about the trees. You're concerned about the trees? There is an arborist report that's been filed on this application. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, okay, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
I also, my side, the fence, I have a problem with their land. And before, because I measured my property. My property now is 1 feet less. My property of foot. My property is supposed to be have the 25. That's a regular, right? Every house in our street. My neighbor.
You're saying that something's wrong with the fence? The fence is over onto your property, or what are you saying?
Right. Yes, that fence is run into my property.
Well,
Yeah, I want to make a change. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that
I want to make a change because I have a 1 less feet for the short on the
Anyway, we've let you
on
know
my
we've
house.
gone on for quite some time, so thank you. We'll have the applicant respond to your concerns. Committee members, do you have any
Okay.
questions for the neighbor behind local, like she's on the key lot at number 48 Portland. You can see it on the location map. So she's directly behind on the side, fronting onto Portland, which is the side street.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions for that neighbor?
把这个意见告诉 owner，
Okay,
没有
so-
提
And
意见。
I just told them my feet is one foot short, right? I want to report this to the owner. Maybe we can communicate
We don't
with
deal
the
with,
owner.
the committee does not deal with boundary disputes. If you have a problem, you have to deal with it privately through a lawyer. But we'll hear from the agent, Mr. Marchese, what the survey shows, because I'm sure he's not building, I'm sure the fence is on his property, and is it, I don't know, maybe it's your fence, and if it's his fence, if it's a boundary fence, but you're saying it's inside your property?
Mhm.
That they have some of your
Yes.
property on their land inside the fence?
Yes.
怎么
Okay,
联系
we'll-
的
we'll
话
Their
hear from him on that.
fence,
I'll ask him to
yes,
comment
their
on that.
fence built into my property.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll hear.
I
from-
want to them
we'll
make
hear
a
from Mr.
change.
Marchese if he can advise us of whether that in fact is the case or not. Okay, so anyone has any questions for Mrs. Lee? Then we'll go over back to Mr. Marchese for a rebuttal on that, and to advise about what the survey shows about, is there any encroachment onto the neighbor's property? Mr. Marchese?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted, Mr. Chair. So a couple points here. I just want to note that the rear yard setback being provided from Mrs. Lee's property is 18.56 meters. So the rear main wall is 18.56 meters from the abutting property line. In regards to the fence, the property owners, my clients, have not made me aware of that. I will let them know, and they can go speak to Mrs. Lee regarding this issue. But as far as I'm concerned, it's not a matter that is to be dealt with as the committee, but I'll make sure my clients are aware. I know she said that the dwelling is going to be 2 floors in height. There's no story variance or overall height variance. She talked about the 2 dwellings eating up majority of the land on the lots, but once again, there's no lot coverage variance. The driveway, if we didn't request the variance to front it onto Milton, there would actually be a rear garage that would be beside her. So the transportation issue is probably better off with the location of the driveway internal to the dwelling closest to Portland Street, but not at the rear abutting an existing single-family detached dwelling. She said that the dwellings are going to be too long, but like I said, we have an 18.56 meter rear yard setback, and there's no depth. And we've been dealing with transportation or with urban forestry, I apologize, and have no objection to their standard conditions, and will obtain any urban forestry permits associated with this application if approved today. At this point, I think I've dealt with all her key issues, but I'll be happy to answer any other questions at this time.
Okay, committee members, does anyone else have any follow-up questions for Mr. Marchese, both dealing with the neighbor or generally? Or is someone ready to make a motion if no one has any questions? Yes, your lot size almost, it's 13.5, you're at 11.97. Your lot frontage clearly is key, as well as, and again, importantly, we have I believe, a planning report for information where they have no objection to this application. That's correct, I believe? Yeah, there's the planning memo. So committee members, any questions for Mr. Marchese or for the neighbor, or is someone ready to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, firstly, with regard to the consent, I find the lot sizes to be quite appropriate for this area, both immediate and nearby context. The frontages are, well, they match the 2 lots right across the street. They're actually wider than all of the lots on Portland Street running to the east. So I think that it's quite a compatible lot configuration. So I would recommend approval of the consent, subject to the standard conditions of approval of consents. With respect to the minor variances, I find that they satisfy all the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I would move approval of all the variances requested, subject to urban forestry conditions 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, yep.
The engineering and construction services conditions, and the heritage planning department conditions. So that would be my motion.
All right, thank you. And I see we also have this petition here. I was just noticing. Yeah, okay. Seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion. Someone ready, prepared to second that motion? Approve.
Danny Bellissimo would like to second the motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Marchese.
Thanks,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair. Yep.
Thank you, Mrs. Lee.
Thanks.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day. Yep. Ciao.
Okay, we now have to pull up the 3 o'clock agenda. Fortunately, I think we only have about 8 items, starting at item number 31. Mr. Carvalino, I guess I have to read out the opening remarks.
Yes, you do, Mr. Chair.
Okay. We'll try to do that quickly. Good afternoon. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements in a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, at phone, or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry, and when your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Any registered participants will be participating by audio only. We also ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. The Committee of Land Acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act, 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment, being the 3 p.m. time slot, is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone who wishes to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because the Committee of Adjustment and TLAB, in the event of an appeal, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee rendered here today, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedure is as follows. We'll call each item in the order listed in the agenda, starting at item 31 and ending up at, I believe, item 39. When an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant will proceed with a presentation if desired and if required. The committee may ask questions or take the matter into the committee for a decision. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and we will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address at the outset for the record, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent goes first, makes a presentation to the committee of the application, and please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer an application if being substantially revised in order to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals, either in support or opposition, will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they finish their presentations. Again, each speaker has 5 minutes. And when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will have an opportunity for a further 5 minutes to rebut only those issues and answer those questions that are raised by the neighbors, not to introduce new information. And that will mark the end of the discussion, and the application is then taken into committee for a decision. Committee members on the panel today are Mr. Don Taylor, Mr. Neil Palmer, Mr. Danny Bellissimo, and Ms. Sophia Ruddick, and I am Michael Clark, and I'm your chair today. And last question, whether anyone, any staff or members have any interests, declarations of interest for the items on the 3 o'clock time slot? None to declare, okay. So we can proceed with our first item of the 3 o'clock time slot. And again, our apologies for running over on our applications. We have a number of lengthy contested applications at the 1 o'clock time slot. So our first item is item number 31, 16 BROME Road.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just interrupt,
Yes.
there will be only one speaker here, Valdemar Nickel. The second speaker that you have is there, Gabrielle Fain. He's a secondary agent to the same application, so he's not a neighbor.
Yeah, we only need one. Okay. This is for a detached dwelling with an attached garage with 3 variances, and to get it up here, but it looks like there are no communication from neighbors or from city staff. Nothing whatsoever other than the materials filed with the application. So let's hear from Vladimir Nickel, the agent. Mr. Nickel?
Yes, hello, Mr. Chair.
Hello.
Mr. Chair, committee members, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Valdemar Nickel from Nor Architects.
Sir, if I
Given
can just
the,
interrupt, I just realized there is one communication. Urban Forestry is looking for their conditions 1 and 2. My apologies.
Correct. Thank you. In respect of everyone's time, thank you. We concur with Urban Forestry's conditions and certainly are appreciative of that the application, in our opinion, is truly minor in nature and meets the intent and is consistent with the zoning and official plan. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, there appear to be 3 variances. They all appear to be rather minor in numerical form, not necessarily impact. It looks like the largest of them is a ½ meter in height. And basically, they're all very, very minor. So let's see if committee members have any questions for you, or if someone's ready to weigh in with a motion, if there are none.
Danny Bellissimo here. If no other members have any questions, I will be ready to make a motion.
Yes, sir. I think you're good to go.
I find that the variances are minor in nature and move approval of the 3 variances.
Subject to Urban Forestry 1 and 2?
Subject to Urban Forestry items 1 and 2.
Thank you. We have a seconder for Mr. Bellissimo's motion.
Cynthia Reddick, I second that.
Thank you, Ms. Ruddick. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Nickel.
Mr. Chair, committee, thank you for your time.
Okay. Next item is item number 32, 22 SHADETREE Crescent. Good name for a street.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members, and municipal staff. My name is Johnny Regine. I'm the agent for this application.
Okay, I just want to introduce it, sir, for a second. We have again, a 2nd-story addition above the existing detached garage. We have 2 variances. We have Urban Forestry requesting condition number 2, but other than that, no comment from area neighbors or city staff.
Mr. Chair, if I can add one item for clarification, please.
Yes, sir.
Item number 1, we have to be consistent with our survey. The setback that is stated there is 8.33 meters, where the survey is 8.34. So I would like the zoning amendment made to 8.34, so we don't have any issues with regards to the approvals if granted today. It's an existing condition. As a matter of fact, both these are extenuated from existing conditions of the house location. built the front yard. and
very,
side yard.
very, very minor, but it's good thing it's not 8.32. You're actually getting better, because even though it's a 0.1 of a meter,
Yeah.
we would have had an issue, but you're getting 0.01 better. So happy to oblige if you don't want to leave it there,
Thank you.
because it's only, you want to be accurate. So.
I just don't want any issues later on with regards to approvals,
Yes.
getting your zoning certificate and your
Yeah,
permissions. That's all.
Again, this is a top up and doesn't generate anything. You're not over on coverage or height or anything else. So purely very, very minor. Let's see if committee members have any questions or if someone's ready to bring in a motion. And there is, you're okay with urban forestry condition number 2, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Committee members?
Chair Neil Palmer.
Yes.
Chair Neil Palmer, just want to clarify, it looks like the 8.33 is from the interior measurement, and the 8.34 is from the exterior measurement of the driveway. So it looks like it should be 8.33.
Whoa, okay.
The survey, which is the legal document.
Okay, sorry,
shows
where's the
8
survey?
point. Yeah, so I'm going with the legal document more than the site plan, just because the instruments are more accurate.
I don't know if there's any possible confusion. Maybe I'm not telling you what to do, but it's only 0.01. I don't think anyone's going to worry about it. If I were you, and if there's some, I'd leave it where it is.
Yeah,
And especially if there's some possible confusion that Mr. Palmer, maybe someone else is going to see. You don't want to be held up over 0.01 of a meter if they, So
Fair
I'm
enough.
very happy that you pointed that out to us, but
Fair enough.
I was going to say off the record,
Okay.
but we're on the record. I would just leave it alone. The whole variance is 0.03
okay, so
of a
I'll
meter.
move for approval. I'll move for approval subject to the forestry condition.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Seconded for Mr. Palmer's motion.
Danny Bellissimo will second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Okay.
Have a great day.
You too. Okay, item number 33 is 2835 Lakeshore Boulevard West. Hold on, I'm gonna, oops. Where is it here? Somehow I skipped over to 39. Wishful thinking, I guess. Let me go back to the 33.
Hello?
Yes, this is an application 2855 Lakeshore. This permit a parking deficiency from 47 to 38. Transportation has no objections. Advised it's really 39 to 38 because of legal non-conforming. So it's in a relocation of one space and converting 3 standard spaces to 2 accessible spaces. And the agent on this application is Rob Huot of SSA Studios, and we also have a TCHC rep available for questions. Is that Toronto Community Housing?
This is Rob Hewitt with SSA. Calvis from Toronto Community Housing is not with us today.
Okay.
He was not able to log in, but
Okay, he was your client, right? He's your client. This is a
he's the client, yes. So I can,
Okay, so you're on your own, but I think you're okay.
I think so too. Basically, there's 3 spots that we'd like to convert into 2 fully accessible spots.
Yes.
And the project's part of an ongoing project to meet AODA requirements, and the tenants in the building have been consulted with meetings and have been made aware, and this is the tenants are informed of this proposal.
Okay, and I see if transportation has no objection. Let's see if committee members have any questions for you or if ready to make a motion here.
Mr. Chair, I see this as a very laudable initiative. I find the variances to be in keeping with the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move for approval unconditionally.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion.
Danny Bellissimo will second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Huot.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair and the committee.
Okay. Item number 35 is 37 Falstaff. Sorry, wrong. Item number 34 is 37 Falstaff. And it's an application to legalize and maintain a rear yard deck with breezeway and a detached garage, and to maintain the front yard parking spaces. There are 5 variances. We have 2 orders to comply dated November 12th and November 20th, 2020 respectively, and we have transportation conditions of approval. And TRCA, I believe they're fine. Oh, they are? Oh, I see, actually, TRCA. I have not noted, okay. That's contained in the transportation memo. Oh, deferral until the applicant addresses the following to the satisfaction 1, 2, and 3, and then TRCA. This is Mr. Perez. Is
yeah, hi.
as well as the neighbor next door at 35 Falstaff. Mr. Perez, staff just pointed out to me that both TRCA and transportation are looking for a deferral of this application. You aware of that?
Yeah, we got that at last minute, but I feel that we can hear this case today because the variances won't change, and they're minor in nature, and the variances have been there since 2015. We have a legal survey that shows that this has already been there for a while, and we're just proposing to legalize what's there. And as per the length of the building, they have it as being 25.46. That's because they're all connected. The actual house itself is only 12.8 meters.
Mr. Perez,
Garages.
Mr. Perez, just hang on a second. We have
Yeah.
2 city departments not telling us these are issues and go ahead and make the application and we can deal with these 2 issues later. They're asking, and you can say that you don't agree, but they're asking that these matters be deferred until, so perhaps they don't want to, this being approved until such time as these issues are dealt with.
Well, for the transportation.
Is that a possible interpretation we can come to here? When the development, when they tell us, recommend deferral until the applicant addresses the following to the satisfaction of transportation services. So it's a subjective nature. And if you don't do it, they're saying you do that first. So I appreciate you're saying, oh, it doesn't make a difference because it doesn't affect the variances, but that's not necessarily, you've been at this long enough. You're an experienced agent, right? So, sometimes one thing has to follow the other, or maybe no one's going to deal with it. And if they keep that carrot saying, okay, clean these things up and then you get your approval, especially this is to legalize and maintain. I'm not clear. I was going to ask that when I read the application. Is there a comma in there, or is it everything legalize and maintain? Is there a comma there? It says legalize and maintain the rear yard deck with breezeway, and then the detached garage, and to maintain. Is this all already built? Is the detached garage there?
It's all been built.
Okay, so even more of a reason. There's no hardship to you in having this deferred until such time as you satisfy transportation and TRCA, because it's not like when you're going out, you're ready to build something and you're going to be put off by 6 months, like on some other cases today. You're actually, everything's built. You're just trying to legalize it. So
yeah, the client bought it
do you
as
agree
such.
that there's no hardship to you if we defer this, subject to you doing what you're supposed to do according to TRCA and transportation, and then you get it legalized? really no hardship, correct?
Yeah, we can defer it. That's the best.
I think that's only proper. I don't know if the other members agree here. But
I would say for, sorry, Neil Potter, I would say if we're going to defer, we defer to a fixed date, because if it's already an existing situation, there's no reason for the applicant to come back.
Exactly. He got his orders to comply. You can say, well, I put in my application. The fact that it's not been heard, well, don't look at me. So that's, I think, a very good point. So, Mr. Carvalino, what would you suggest as a date where we have room on an agenda and that would permit Mr. Perez enough time to do what he has to do? I'd like to point out that on all of, I was previously downtown Toronto East York. You're looking at, we have some leeway here to give some deferrals and say, oh, we'll put it on the next meeting. We'll put it on the first meeting in May, like we've done today. Downtown, you're looking at maybe a 6-month delay for anything because of their agendas. So
Mr. Chair, May 11th would work.
May 11th, okay. So we have another one coming down May 11th. So let's thank you, Mr. Palmer, for that. Piggybacking on my issue, saying there's no hardship for him to wait, and he doesn't have to get his approvals today because there's no hardship. So this will keep him honest. So is that your motion to defer to a specific date of May 11th?
Yes, I will move for deferral to May 11th to allow the applicant to speak to the engineering and to TRCA and hopefully address their concerns so that we can hear the application and not have it deferred further.
For sure. Okay, and just before we get that second, I just want to point out there's a neighbor, Mr. or Ms. Lee, at 35 Falstaff, who I assume is listening in, and just to let them know that they will have a chance to advise what their concerns are. This is already built, and they'll be re-notified, and they'll have a chance to address the committee on May 11th if they want to keep track of that date. And I guess unless we might as well hear Mr. Is Hugh Lee there? Paul, are they here? Adam? Paul?
I did sound check them. They are here. They are unmuted.
Hello.
Okay, is that?
Hello.
Hello. You're the neighbor at 35 Falstaff?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I live with the neighbors.
Yes.
Which is I was disagree with that. The reason is when they build, they have the decks without my concern. I noticed, but I keep asking them, but they just build it. I didn't have any chance to tell them, say anything.
Yes, they build it
so
without a permit.
When they have,
yes, sir, they built it
Yes,
without
sir.
a permit, and they're applying here to legalize it. And you've registered to advise, to indicate what your concerns are. But we're not going to be hearing the matter today, because before we can do it, the agent or the applicant has to comply with certain requirements of the Toronto Regional Conservation Authority and of the Transportation Department. But this will be coming back to the committee on May the 11th. You will receive a notice in the mail, and you can certainly participate at that time. But we're not going to be hearing the application on the merits today.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, so you'll be re-notified, sir, and you'll have a chance to let the committee know what your concerns are. We do realize this was built without a permit. Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Palmer, you have your motion. We need a seconder for the motion.
Danny Bellissimo seconds the motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, matters deferred till May the 11th. Okay, our next application is item number 3536 CAYUGA. We have one speaker, Stuart Hatch of Hatch Design. It's an application to construct a detached garage in the rear yard. We have 10 letters of support. Planning has a condition of approval that it be built with permeable pavers. We actually have two memos, but I think they both say exactly the same thing. And this matter was deferred from November 5th, 2020. Mr. Hatch.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Good afternoon. So I've just introduced the application. There's you're building a detached garage. You have 5 variances. And you're aware of the planning condition and you're okay with that?
Yes, that's correct. Would you like a full presentation today?
I don't think so, unless committee members, why don't we just see if anyone has any questions for you? You're okay with the planning condition. You have given us 10 letters of support, so you've done your homework. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hatch in this application? Okay, and if not, does anyone ready to make a motion? And Mr. Hatch, was there anything else you'd like to add, though?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Don Taylor, I'm satisfied that the requested variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move for approval subject to the condition of the Community Planning Department regarding permeable pavers for the rear yard walkway.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second it, Neil Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members.
Thank you. Our next application is item number 36, 59 EDGECROFT Road. It was deferred from November 5th, 2020 hearing. It's an application to build a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. There are 4 variances. There was a previous decision in 2017 for additions, which I guess is irrelevant. We have 4 letters of support, and planning has a condition of approval. And I think, oh yeah, it was actually, and they're just confirming that their October 25th, 2020 report stands, and in that report, I believe they wanted to build substantially in accordance with I think the old wording, because it was from last year. Yes, constructed substantially in accordance with the ground floor and second floor plans as it relates to the building length, excluding interior layout submitted August 26th. So they confirm that their planning report still applies. I assume it's still substantially in accordance, not constructed as shown. Okay, we only have the agent registered to speak, Antonella Veroni Wild.
Wild. Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Okay, welcome.
Well, thank you.
So this matter was deferred from last time it was here.
Yes.
Were there any changes made or?
No, so it was deferred because.
Yes.
Yes, it was deferred because the height to the soffit was missed, and so that variance was added. That would be variance number 3.
Okay.
Or on your notice, it's not item number 3.
Right. Okay. And you're okay with the planning condition that I just outlined?
Yes, we understand. We understand that. There's also a condition with transportation services. So if you'd like a presentation, I have a presentation ready.
Okay, I see there is transportation. Okay, if you want to give us a short presentation, but
okay, so as per, do you see conditions from urban forestry?
Yes, they're looking to for refusal at number 5, and maybe why don't you just talk about the transportation condition and then the urban forestry situation? And
Okay,
we'll see if
I
committee
will.
members have any questions to you about the particular variances.
Okay.
Seems to
So
be
as per
planning's okay with it, right? So.
yes. Okay. So as per the conditions of transportation services, the driveway will be revised to reduce the width to 3 meters within the municipal right-of-way and to align with the garage door width. A walkway will be proposed adjacent to the driveway as suggested in the report to a maximum of 1.5 meters, extending from the dwelling to the sidewalk. The revised site plan was sent to Urban Forestry, Transportation Services, and the Zoning Department. Upon review of the revised plan, the zoning examiner removed variance 4 as per the notice for driveway width. So that won't be requested today.
That's variance number
The
4.
last, so,
Sorry, let's.
yes,
variance number 4. Let me just pull it up. Is the
Yes.
variance dealing with the permitted driveway width. So you're no longer at 4.67, you're gonna comply. Right?
Correct.
So you said
By,
we can delete
yes,
that, we can delete variance 4,
yes.
okay?
So we did go, we have, so if you look on the last item, so we want to talk about urban forestry. As you're aware, we were deferred. And at that time, in the consolidated report for that hearing, urban forestry noted condition 3. There was no existing trees. There are no existing trees that require protection on the property. No other conditions were requested then or now. However, the report for today's meeting notes recommendation 5 due to the impact to a bylaw protected tree that does not exist. No attached memo was submitted outlining the rationale for denial as done so with the other items on the agenda. We don't request a variance for landscape open space. Already noted, the driveway within the right-of-way will only be 3 meters wide and move to align with the garage door. The garage is at its minimum width, set back at the minimum side yard setback, and its position is exactly where it needs to be to comply with the bylaw. Notwithstanding all this, my clients, along with their counselor's office, reached out to urban forestry. Yesterday, they received an email from Max Dita. His concern is that the Toronto Green Standards recommend 30 cubic meters of soil volume for a planted urban tree. The area he's referring to is the municipal right-of-way. It is bounded by the sidewalk on the south, the road on the north, the neighbor's driveway that extends to the property line on the west, and the new driveway. So as per Toronto, the memo from Transportation Services, we must move the east boundary of this planting edge to 1.8 meters. The area is currently 35.9 square meters, and when the driveway access is moved, it's 30 square meters. If the soil depth is only 1 meter, we have the necessary 30 cubic meters required by Toronto Green Standards. If the depth is 2 meters, we have twice the necessary area, and so on. Having said that, my clients have no control over this area with boundaries set by the city. Along with the councilor's office, they suggested to urban forestry planting a pyramidal oak on the front lawn and a service berry within the right-of-way. My client, Tyler Baldwin, has spent the last 15 years of his career working in the industry of green and renewable energy. He and his wife intend to do everything in their power to reduce their carbon footprint. They support forestry and the goal to increase Toronto's tree canopy and intend to plant private trees. The absence of coverage in landscape open space variances ensure ample viable planting space as permitted by the zoning bylaw. My client's frustration with this process is that there is no solution for this house on this property with a minimum driveway width that would satisfy urban forestry even without the need to appear before you today. The variances requested have no bearing on the soil volume within the right-of-way. For these reasons, we believe that the variances are minor and the fact that the previous variance were accepted and that it meets the 4 tests of the bylaw.
Okay.
If you have any questions, I'm happy.
Thank you, Ms. Ferroni-Wild. My question, so basically what they're saying is there's no tree there, but it's the planting space that they're trying to protect because they want to plant a future tree there. Is that what they're saying?
Well,
it has to be.
I'm assuming that.
So they're saying that the house you're proposing would negate or make it impossible to plant a tree in that area that's not there. It's not like you're taking down a tree, but they're saying you're gonna. Is that what basically? Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, it was very difficult to find a rationale, and it's not in writing, as you see. Only yesterday we found out that about this cubic volume of soil. Now, if you look on the, right? Sure. So we look on the street. I checked the area. The volume of soil, is it 1 meter deep minimum? So is it 2 meters? So there was no opportunity for discussion, so it became very frustrating. We spoke also with the councillor to talk about private trees. Increasing the tree canopy in Toronto, it doesn't really just mean building it on the boulevard. And you see the boulevard is restricted by conditions that are set by the city.
Okay, so here's my question. I'm looking at the memo now, and it said, like we're talking, deny variance 3. That was talking about this driveway widening, which you're saying you're not doing anymore. You took it away. It was maybe going to just be
right
because of the plan widening, which you've now gone back and you've eliminated that variance. But it says if despite urban forestry's recommendation, the committee panel approves the requested variance, urban forestry requests the variance be subject to the following. Where there's no existing city tree, the owner will provide payment $583 for a tree. And, you know,
Is that
one
a
street
new
tree on
condition?
it may not be on your city road allowance, but I'm just saying, I don't see it, this is, unless I'm missing something. First of all, like you're saying, it's really, it's not true because you're no longer widening your driveway, so you're not affecting this city tree or cancellation of the planned
would it-
city tree and permanent loss of viable planting space. That isn't happening. But even if it was, it's not like you're saying, sorry, you can't build your new house. It means you just have to pay for a tree. So hopefully you can resolve it
So
to
there-
convince them. Best case scenario, you convince them, yeah, there's still room for a city tree. I'm no longer widening the driveway. I've eliminated variance number 4. And your fallback position, if they said, sorry, then it looks like, at least my interpretation, I'm looking at the Deputy Secretary Treasurer, and he's nodding that what would happen is then you'd have to pay $583 for one tree, and wherever it's going to be planted, if there's no room in front of you.
Well, so
you're telling us that there is enough room to plant a tree because you're no longer widening the driveway.
Well, no, what I'm saying is they took away the condition to plant a tree. They're just asking for denial without a rationale in the file.
Mr. Carvalino, can you weigh in here?
There's a memo dated February 23rd from Forestry indicating that they recommend that the committee refuses variance number 3, which was the old variance 3, which is number 4.
Yeah.
Your widened driveway. And if approved, that the committee impose a condition of cash in lieu of the $583 per tree. So I don't know if you've seen that memo, but it should be on the AIC.
It's not, and I did submit the revised site plan so everyone could see it, and that wasn't included. So the new sort of system of not including the applicant's information, and
so we're going to show it to you. But so basically, it's like what I was saying is your first suggestion is yes, you can put a city tree because I'm not widening my driveway anymore. And even if they said no, there's still not enough room, all you'd have to do is pay $583. I'm sure you'd rather have the tree. Your clients are green people. They want a tree. So it looks like you're going to be able to say, yes, there's enough room for a tree. And if there wasn't, the only downside isn't that you don't get to build your new house.
Yes, of course.
You just have to pay $583.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
we
understand.
have it up on the screen now. So
okay, I wasn't
now you did
had
say
trouble with.
you got an email from Max Ditta. I don't know, where's that showing up here?
Oh,
Is that
okay.
part of the materials? Because we don't, But anyway, I think you're
I
okay
didn't
with
submit
that. Okay. Okay, so let's see if committee have any other conditions or if someone's ready to bring a motion, which would be to approve.
Chair, Neil Palmer, I'm splitting hairs here, but looking at the forestry condition, it says we should deny the variance for the driveway widening. We're now not approving that variance because it's been eliminated.
Yes.
And they said if we don't deny it, then they should have to pay for a tree. Well, we're not approving that variance, so therefore forestry's getting their way, so I don't think they should have to pay for a tree either.
Yeah.
So I think forestry has been satisfied, so therefore there should be no forestry condition.
Okay, so what you're saying is if despite the road widening, they still can, then it's not because of the driveway widening, then why should they have to pay? If they weren't, because they've now eliminated that variance. So
yeah,
if there wasn't enough,
forestry's,
they shouldn't have to pay. But it looks like they'll
yeah, forestry didn't say they can't have all the other variances. They specified the driveway width variance.
Exactly.
So,
which has now been withdrawn. Okay.
So I am going to. Yeah, I'll move for approval. It meets the 4 tests in the Planning Act and it's minor. And it looks like they've satisfied transportation, but I think we'll just add that to the satisfaction of the Transportation Department with the revised site plan with the and the elimination of the driveway width variance.
Correct. Okay. Okay. Do we have a seconder for Mr. Palmer's motion?
Oh, and it's per the site plan, August 26th. Or wait, per
Community
planning department's satisfaction as well for the site plan. I don't know what the difference is between the August 26th site plan and the updated one is.
Right. Okay. So we have The planning conditions substantially in accordance with, same as their memo in October 2020, stands, they've devised, and as well, you're saying no urban forestry condition, and elimination of variance number 4.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Seconder for Mr. Palmer's motion.
Danny Bellissimo would like to second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, Ms. Ferroni, Wild, you have your approval. Subject to that condition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay, next item is item 37, 40 Pritchard Avenue. And it's an application to construct a 2-story front addition to the Kunpen Buddhist Center. And there are 6 variances. This was deferred November the 24th. We have a cover letter, and that's, I believe, all we have. And the speaker for this application is Jack Dugan, agent for the applicant. Mr. Dugan?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. This application requires 6 variances, and I'd like to give you just a very brief summary of those 6 variances.
Yep.
The application for an addition, a front addition to an existing place of worship that was built in about 1960, and so some of the siting standards of the existing building don't comply with the current bylaw, making it legal non-conforming. So in putting this addition on the front of the building and lining it up with the existing west wall of the building, it means that the addition is subject to some of the same discrepancies as the original building. The addition itself is for 154 square meters. It raises the FSI to 1.13, but in fact, the existing building is 0.99.
Yes,
so
you're
the
already
existing
over.
building
Yeah.
it exceeds the bylaw standard
Okay.
as well. The second variance is for the side yard, the west side yard. The existing side yard is 1 meter, and the proposed addition is 1 meter. So
Okay.
it's exactly the same as existing condition. Similarly, condition number 6 requires a 3-meter wide strip of soft landscaping along that west side. That side yard is only 1 meter. We're consistent with the existing building, and so that's the reason for that variance. Then variance number 3 is for the front canopy. The canopy is allowed to project to the extent of the front porch. For architectural reasons, the architect has proposed that it extend 2 feet beyond the wall of the front porch instead of 1 foot as permitted in the bylaw. And number 4, the exterior stairs, the bylaw allows for a maximum width of 2 meters. The proposal is for 2.4 meters. The difference is 16 inches. And variance number 5, the exterior stairs, just simply because of the floor height of the building, the exterior stairs project further towards the street than the existing, and so we need a variance of 0.3 meter setback from the front lot line instead of 0.6 meters. These are extremely minor variances, very much in line with the intent of the bylaw. I think the addition to the building will make this old building, which is of large institutional scale, a much more fine-grained building that'll be much more in keeping with the residents.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dugan. Thank you. Very straightforward, as you say, very minor. Let's see if committee members have any questions for you, or if someone's ready to make a motion.
Danny Bellissimo, if the other members do not have any questions, I'm ready to make a motion. I find that the addition is very small in relative terms to the size of the existing building. So I would like to move approval of the variances before us today.
Thank you.
I find them minor in nature.
Thank you, Mr. Bellissimo. A seconder for Mr. Bellissimo's motion.
John Taylor seconds that motion.
Thank you, sir. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval, Mr. Dugan. Have a great evening.
Chairman. Have a great day.
Okay, item number 38 is 68 Royal Crescent. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. A previous Committee of Adjustment application approved variances relating to lot coverage, gross floor area, side yard setback, building length, building height, and exterior stair width. And now we have 2 variances for depth and length. We have before us on this application the previous decision, cover letter and photos. Other cover letters, planning is yeah, we have a planning report. They want it to be built, constructed as outlined. We have urban forestry looking for conditions 1 and 2. So we have some letters from Mr. Zabzuni advising there's no change to the building envelope and that this variances were missed at the time of the other, basically the excavated area, the deck was not taken into account, and that's the reason for this. And we'll have to hear whether it was because the deck was covered or not covered. There's some discussion about that in the letters given back and forth. We do have several neighbors present with objecting to this application. The adjacent neighbor at 70, the other one on the other side at 66, 67, 59, and 1 and 3 Nora Road. Yeah, we want to hear that there's apparently no change in the building envelope, but apparently it is, I think I'm reading from one of the letters, it's inflamed the matters further because of this application was contentious to begin with when it was approved. So we have the agent as Marin Zabzuni, and then we'll hear from the neighbors. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Marin Zabzuni at 1140 the Queensway.
Yes.
So yes, we were approved for this home in February 2020, and it's been an unfortunate process as the homeowners are going through all this unnecessary stress due to missing variances on the initial zoning notice. The drawings have always had an excavated rear deck from the beginning, and this has been verified. And everything else has been approved, including the coverage. The length and depth variance is only triggered due to the excavated rear deck. Nothing else has changed. The owner has an as-built survey to verify this. Inspections have happened from city. Everything has been done honestly and legally. So it's just unfortunate that the homeowners are getting this backlash when they're not at fault. And that's one of the reasons they asked for a refund. It's because the project, the house, the building envelope has never changed from the initial approval. So well, we ask that you review that based on those merits.
Yeah, and I also see we have a planning report, and they have recommended that the proposed development be constructed as illustrated in the site plan. So they're asking for a condition as it relates to the building length and depth that it be constructed as illustrated, the new wording for substantially in accordance. So they are saying, I guess, in the body of it, they're saying that it should be, they're willing to have that, but they're noting that they should want it tied to the plans. They do point out, and I think this is the big crux of the information, so good to get it out in the record. Planning staff notes that the current application remains unchanged from the application that was previously approved by the committee on February 13, 2020. So, because I guess, as you read in the letters, the neighbors are suspicious it's something new that's being done to further get something else. It says the application requests variances for a building length of 21.1 and a building depth of 21.5 meters. At the time of the initial application, a proposed rear covered deck was not included in the calculation of the building length, which resulted in a building length of 17.4 meters. The current application represents a proposed building length of 21.1, which now includes the rear covered deck. And then furthermore, a variance for building depth was not included as it was missed in the previous zoning review. And planning staff note that the proposed building depth variance also includes the rear covered deck. So it's not, because I was reading the letters of objection, there was some discussion that, oh, it's because they covered it, but what I'm getting out of this is that it was originally supposed to be covered. It's not like they just covered it, and that's why it's triggering these new variances. So I think that's a very important part. I'd like you to confirm that, and like staff to confirm that, just that the neighbors hear it from, that's what happened here, and it's nothing nefarious, like you've made a change, which now has triggered the length and depth variance. Because, you know, we don't want people going away thinking, you know, people are living, this is not like a business transaction. You're going back and you're living beside these people, and that there's this bad feeling that something happened. I think it's very important to clarify on the record from you and from staff that, as we're sort of reading in the planning report, that there was nothing nefarious going on. It was missed. Mr. Carvalino?
Absolutely, you're absolutely correct.
So, Mr. Zabzuni,
Yes, you're absolutely.
I want to just ask staff to confirm that that is what their understanding is as well.
Yep.
Well, Mr. Chair, you did read into the record what the planning staff have confirmed, and there was a missed variance. And it's my understanding that now that it's excavated below, it adds to the one that wasn't missed. So the covered deck portion was always there.
Right. So basically, because I'm saying when you read the opposition letters, when I reviewed this the other night, it makes it, you know, and I just, you know, I think it's important to clarify what happened here so that people don't have a mistaken impression that this was a strategy all along to get something more. If that is the case, and I'm just reading from this, I'm not expressing my opinion. So again, this is, I think maybe let's hear from the neighbors and you'll have a chance to respond, Mr. Zabzuni, unless there's something you'd like to add at this time, and something else.
No, you're absolutely correct on everything. Please go ahead.
Okay, and we do. So the first speaker, I guess, is the most directly of the first two, 70, ROYALAVON, and 66. So number 70, Matt Medill.
Yes, hello.
Welcome.
I'd like to start by clarifying that I'm not suggesting that the originally submitted plans did not have this covered deck. I'm aware that they did. So from that perspective, I don't think there was anything. I don't think there was any intention to deceive from the builder from that perspective. My objection to what's happening and what's now being presented to the committee is that it was previously understood to be 40 centimeters over the allowed length, 17.4 meters as opposed to 17, which I can completely understand why that was accepted as a minor variance. However, because of the misinterpretation of the plans, we're now looking at something that's 21.1 meters long, which is 24% over the allowed length. The other concern that I have is looking at the drawings. The rear deck has a very small set of pillars around it. But what has actually been constructed, which you can see if you look at the letter from John Burke and Daphne Lobo, what has actually been constructed, there's a massive chimney for an exterior fireplace.
Yeah, I read that.
That's up against the north edge of the deck and covers almost the entire side of the deck. So the original approved house is just the stucco portion, the white portion that you can see. And then the brick portion is in excess of the original approved variances, which does add considerable length and obstruction of sunlight to our property.
So is this a chimney like for I've seen like pizza ovens and things like that? What's the purpose of this chimney there? And was it shown on the original plans? I'm going to ask staff to weigh in on this. But is that, you're saying that although the covered deck might have been shown on the plans, that the large chimney on the side was not shown on the plans? And I don't know.
It does say wood fireplace. It does say wood fireplace with an arrow on the plans. I'm looking at the plans right now. However, the small pillar that's there, which I'm assuming is supposed to just illustrate holding up the deck roof, it doesn't reflect what's actually built, which you can see in the photo from John and Daphne.
I see a photo from 67 showing the back.
Yes.
But I don't, it's a small.
That's what I'm referring to. That's John and Daphne. So that, do you see where the stucco ends, where the white portion of the wall ends?
Yes.
That's where the actual house ends. And then that brick chimney that's behind, that's part of the covered rear deck. So that obstruction of the sun, of that big brick chimney,
oh, I see.
that's what we're now referring to as the additional variance.
So I think on the picture I'm looking at, someone's put a red square. Yeah, it's up on the screen, the red square.
Yeah.
On that. So it's on the left side, it's the piece going straight up.
Yes.
On the inside of the deck, is there like a pizza oven there or a fireplace, or what's the purpose of that? Or is that part of the house?
I don't know. The owner or the agent would have to speak to that. I can't see what's on the other side of that.
Exactly. Okay. Okay.
So I'm not alleging that there was any foul play in terms of the drawing. It's just that because the drawing was misinterpreted, we now have a much larger variance. Like, I don't see how a 24% excess length is a minor variance.
So you're saying, I guess I'm reading, but you're saying if you would come here last year when it got approved and they had come in with a 21-meter length rather than 17.4, it might have been considered differently? Is that what basically you're?
Exactly. And I think the committee should have.
Yeah.
I think the committee would have considered it differently had that been the number presented to them.
We'll never know. We'll never know. Because they would have explained, oh yes, it's really only 17.4 except for this, the rest of the occasion because of the covered deck. But we never know. We can't go back in time.
So that's my one concern, and my other concern is that chimney doesn't appear to match the drawing.
Okay, anyone else have any questions for Mr. Medill before we move on to the next speaker? Okay, so let's speak to the neighbor on the other side, Mr. or Mrs. Doyle at 66.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, the people at 66 do not have any comment. I spoke with them earlier. They will not be joining, so we can move on to the next one.
Okay, then Mr. Burke at 67, who took these pictures, is part of his letter that we've been talking to with Mr. Medill. Hello, Mr. Burke.
Hello. I just support what Matt is saying, and that is that if this originally had been presented accurately, at the first go around, a number of neighbors would have been strongly opposed to this edifice that's been built, which is, as you can see from the drawings, goes in the back, that goes, that brick structure that goes higher than the whole building itself.
Yes, it does.
And clearly is blocking off the sun from Matt's yard. It's clearly, in my view, it's in terms of like the view from Nora Crescent, in terms of the view that we see, it's just an outrageous level of variance. It's not a minor variance. It's an outrageously large variance. I don't know how we can accept something like this.
The 21-foot length or depth or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a 24% variance. Listen, if it was a half a meter or something, who cares? But this is an outrageous variance.
And so you're just being a good neighbor. You really can't see it. You're across the street, right?
Well, I can see it.
But you're, I guess across.
I'm walking, and I walk around the neighborhood. I can see it. I can see it where I am. I can see it if I'm on Nora. I can see it if I'm traveling south on ROYALAVON Crescent.
I understand, but I'm saying as a property owner, it's not affecting your property because you see the front of the house and this is the back of the house. I'm not trying to say that you can't see it if you walk around the neighborhood. I'm just saying.
I walk the neighborhood every day. Okay. People in this neighborhood walk the neighborhood every day. They see this.
Okay.
So to suggest that it doesn't bother me is an inaccurate statement.
Okay, I'm just saying you would agree with me that your neighbors at 66 and 70 are a lot more affected by this than you are. That's all
I would suggest that. I would suggest that would be true. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for being a good neighbor and weighing in on this. Okay.
You're welcome.
So And I guess your position is the large, when you mentioned the percentage, it was from the beginning, not the increment to now, or the increment from the 17 to the 21, I guess, is your, we don't really look at percentages, but
Well, I would
you
say
and the neighbors are all
percentages transit.
Yeah, you're
Percentages translate into reality when, from a visual point of view.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, okay. The next speaker then is, if anyone have any questions for Mr. Burke, 67. He took, and I guess you don't know. You didn't trespass to see what's on the inside of that brick structure. If it's a pizza oven or a fireplace or whatever it is on the end, we're going to hear from Mr. Zabir.
That's really irrelevant to me. Yes.
Okay. Very good. Anyone have any questions, or we'll move on to the next speaker, Scott Gilchrist from 59 Royal Avon. Mr. Gilchrist?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I signed for the people that were applying for the variance. I spoke to the owner, nice gentleman, and I believed what he said. He said he was only asking for a minor variance on the side. Now, anything, you only can go 55 feet, 56 feet long. I'm from the old school. Going 70 feet with any structure, even it being in the backyard, is no way taboo, especially when you enclose the structure for 5 years later on to continue with an addition. So I would say, listen to the neighbor, you're not going to work on Sunday and you're not going to go past the hours. He said, no. Has he worked on Sundays? He has. So that is not a minor variance. Now, I went for a variance minor and was told I would never get anything over 25 feet for a flat roof. Really? Well, going almost 26 feet is not a minor variance. Now, the thing about aesthetics on things, well, I almost died with my minor variance on this house. And I would sort of say, do you want me to paint the wonderful house because it's just something about looks of something? Now, if you don't keep everything flush with every other house and you plan to extend something at the front and also the back and go 70 feet, no way. That's unacceptable when your lot is only 140 feet long. Do the math. That is not minor. A half a meter, maybe minor. Anything more than that, that is major. If you're moving to an area, you know that you're only allowed to have 5-foot setbacks on each side. Cutting down that, they should have moved to a different neighborhood. Even if they had a 60-foot lot, they would still need that required setback, would they not? So I have issues to sort of say that it wasn't that I had anything to object with at the beginning, but had he told me that he wanted to go with a 70-foot structure, I would have objected way back when. I was not told the truth by your applicant, which doesn't put me in a good mood because I have a traumatic brain injury. And when I get something sent to me on Friday that I have to respond to on Tuesday, come on. I think I'd like a refund for my Committee of Adjustment application asking for 24.75 meters, or feet, sorry.
Okay. So any more, so anything else to add, or I'll see if anyone has any questions for you, or I'm gonna move on to the next speaker. So I appreciate you're not, you feel because of the increment, you never would have agreed to 70 feet. So in fact, misread it's 17.4, and then turns out that with respect to this, the covered deck only, not the whole enclosure, it's actually further on.
Well, it's
okay. I just
not
want
a
to know your
minor
position.
variance.
I'm facilitating the meeting. I'm just summarizing your position. If there's anything else you'd like to add, otherwise we'll move to the next speaker.
No, that's pretty much it.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Last speaker is Mary and Nicholas Tanchik of 1 and 3 Nora Road.
Hi,
Hi.
we are here.
Yeah, you have 2 properties there, or?
Yes,
Okay.
we
they're
both
separate?
own each. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna looking it out on the location map. I want to just get a better idea where you are. I think you're behind, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let us know what your concerns are.
All right. First, has anyone besides Danny seen the site?
We've seen pictures. I don't know if anyone else has attended. So you own both properties, like right behind the property. So you're actually probably the most affected. Number one, Nora is probably as affected as the both adjacent neighbors. So I guess we didn't hear from the people at 66. They weren't able to join us. We heard from Mr. Medill at 70s. Now we'd like to hear from you, because you have the direct view at this from number one.
That's right. And I understand why people are upset about this covered deck.
Yeah.
The word deck is a misnomer. On the plan, it said wood deck. This is not a wood deck. If I looked at the plans online, I see that there's a full basement under there. There's a theater room and a nanny quarters. So this is not a deck. It has brick pillars holding up the second-story balcony. The balcony goes across the whole second story. They've just extended the house by almost 4 meters. And this balcony looks across our whole yard. We have a small yard at number one, and we are totally in view. We have now a watchtower over our property. When we didn't complain, but we did not agree to all the 9 adjustments that the builder wanted the first time around. The owner told us we were the only ones who made any complaints. And secondly, there's the cabana. It shows the cabana against the fence. And I see the foundation is not where that cabana shows. It's very close to our property. And if that cabana has to have motors going or chlorine or whatever for the pool, it's like it's right there. We walk out of the house and there it is. Because we just have basically side yard.
Yeah, I guess what we're dealing with now is just this length and depth variance. That would have been approved with the first. I guess the pool and the cabana and all that stuff is, we can't look at that. But I'm just actually looking, I think the picture that the applicant has provided is actually, in some respects, better than the pictures we got from Mr. Burke. It shows a sort of the brick structure, but we doesn't see what's inside. But we're going to hear back from Mr. Zabzumi as to what's going on there. So I agree. So you seem to be the most quite affected because you look right onto this from number one.
Well, they're looking at us.
Exactly. Okay, so does anyone have any questions for Mary Tanchak of 1 and 3 Nora? Okay, so let's go back then to Mr. Zabzuni, the agent, to respond to the concerns of the neighbors. And Mr. Zabzuni, I want you to sort of zero in on those issues. I like to see, because your neighbors have, although they were able to take pictures, they weren't willing to trespass, and see what's going on the inside of that structure. Is there a fireplace or a pizza oven, or what's going on? What's the purpose of that chimney? Is it for an interior or for the exterior chimney? And as well as what's going on below the property. And if you can just respond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Respond. You have 5 minutes or so to respond to the concerns raised by the neighbors, so you can proceed how you wish.
No problem.
The committee members are listening.
Okay, thank you. So as I said before, in our initial application, there was always a room under the deck. So there's no foul play here. This has been verified by city planning and city staff. That was always reviewed by city planning, always reviewed by neighbors prior. So nothing has changed in that proposal. And the only thing that changed is the missing variance of length and depth due to the excavated rear deck. Even before, it was always covered. That hasn't changed. The outdoor fireplace, the chimney is just a fireplace, and it's not a variance. And the owner just has a deep lot. He wants a fireplace on his rear deck. I don't see anything wrong with that. He's allowed to, and it's not a variance for this application. So the impact too that the neighbors speak of, This variance provides zero impact because this length variance only stands from the basement, from under the deck. It does not change the building envelope above grade whatsoever. That was already approved at the previous hearing. It's just very unfair to the homeowners that they're going through this. They were honest in what they proposed this whole time. It's always been there, verified by city planning, city staff. And all we're asking for is for this to be rectified, as it was a missing variance on the zoning notice. And that's been verified.
Okay, so my question is, you look at the pictures you gave us and the ones that Mr. Burke gave us at 67, so it looks like it's now been stuck. Your pictures were earlier, whereas brick, now it's been stuccoed, I guess? So there looks like on the red square that we had up on the screen before, was that protrusion of the chimney, the top, was that accounted for in was there a height variance for that, or was that shown on your original plans?
No height variance, because for a wood burning fireplace, by fire code, you need enough for the exhaust in order to make sure it's safe, essentially. So that's just a fireplace requirement by code.
No, I know, but if you look at the pictures provided, where the house has now been, it looks different. It looks like it's stone. It looked like it was brick in your picture and brown, and now it looks like it's gray. So is this a later picture? This is a later picture. Yours was the picture you gave us was an earlier stage of construction. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so
and
now you see that
the owner is still constructing as per.
So it's stucco on this. I'm looking at the side of the house. It's stucco, and then the last piece where the chimney, it's sort of like a stone, a gray stone or a off-white stone, and it goes up higher. So that's not a height variance. You're below the height.
Below the height, correct.
Was that structure shown on your original plans?
I believe it was. We went for permits for this. So this was reviewed by zoning and code examiner. So it's not a height variance.
Okay, so if you continue, sorry for interrupting. Go on and defend your position based on what the neighbors were saying here. So
yeah,
so just want to respond to what they had to say. You have a few more.
Right. So as I was saying, it's a wood burning fireplace there, and the rest, the covered rear deck was always reviewed and approved on the initial committee of adjustment hearing. So nothing has changed from there. We're all speaking towards the excavated room, the room under the deck, which was always shown in the initial application and reviewed by everyone in the public. So again, like, this is an unfortunate situation for the homeowners that they haven't changed their proposal. It was just a missed variance from the zoning notice.
Okay.
And
So
they're going through this early.
the neighbor mentioned the home theater below there on the plans and the nanny's room. That was already always shown on the original plan.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add, or let's take it into committee. I'll see if the members have any questions. Or you'd like to finish. You still have another half a minute or so.
I think it's very clear, like, the situation here, and I hope that committee members will review it based on that merit and the situation at hand.
Okay, thank you, sir. Committee members, any follow-up questions for the applicant, agent Mr. Zabzuni, or for any of the neighbors? Any questions generally for staff, or is someone ready to make a motion?
It's Don Taylor. I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Is the agent aware that Urban Forestry Department has requested conditions 1 and 2 to any approval of this application? Are you aware of and okay with that?
Yes, we're okay with any conditions from forestry.
On that basis, Mr. Chair, I'm prepared to make a motion on this. I find the key piece of evidence here relates to what we just heard from the agent and repeated by the planning staff in their very recent memo. Planning staff note that the current application remains unchanged from the application that was previously approved by the Committee of Adjustment on February the 13th, 2020. And I find it very frustrating that I guess through inadvertence, we created a sort of a reopener to hear about concerns that were, I think I sat at that hearing on February 20th, and I can remember a lot of what was said at that time. And the committee, in its wisdom at that time, did approve this application, which remains unchanged. So I move approval, subject to the planning condition and urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor, for that motion. And we have a second for Mr. Taylor's motion.
Neil Palmer, I'll second.
Okay, yeah, you know, that was the very part that I read into the record right at the outset, that the committee planning said it was unchanged. So all in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you, neighbors, and thank you, applicant. I hope you can, you know, take some comfort in the fact that what we've talked about is that this was not something that was done very surreptitiously. It was just a missed variance, and although committee will never convince them that the neighbors feel if we originally come with the 21 point whatever rather than 17.4 maybe, but you can't look back. It's an unchanged application and it's built. So thank you everyone for your cooperation in this matter. We'll now move on to our last application of the afternoon evening, and that's item number 39. A, B, and C. 4 LUNNESS Road. It's an application to consent to sever the property's 2 undersized lots, and on each side to develop and site a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. Can someone mute them? There's a lot of noise coming from the screen there. We have a planning report for information which gives the history and summarizes the revisions that were made, and advising that planning has no further objections. We have 10 support letters and 1 objection letter. We have forestry comments, and that is basically what we have. So registered to speak on this application is the agent, Leo Mastrandrea, and the neighbor at 4A LUNNESS Road. Mr. Mastrandrea.
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay, you're the last application of the day, sir.
So I'd like to start off with the consent. We supplied you with a lot study. If you could pull that up, there are 31 lots actually on LUNNESS with similar size frontage and lot area. And in addition to the yellow lots, which I just mentioned, the green lots, which are in the surrounding area, there's an additional 52 lots in the surrounding area with similar lot frontage and lot size.
Okay, so what does the green mean and what is the yellow? What's the green and yellow, Leo?
Well, the yellow is on LUNNESS, right, and the green is surrounding area.
Okay, but those are lot frontages similar to the one you're applying for on the lot as divided.
Yes, lot frontage and lot area.
Okay.
And I feel that allowing this consent will reinforce the character of the neighborhood. In addition, if you look at pages of my submission, page 15 to 20 have decisions with similar lot frontages and lot area. And in addition, I have photos, page 22 to 35, which show the houses that were built on those lots, which have similar variances. And speaking to the minor variances,
and sir, these were lots that were divided. All the ones you're showing these pictures, it was originally 1 lot that were split into 2.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And we worked closely with planning, and we revised our application to minimize the impact on the neighboring property. And now the planning staff are okay with our submission. We have no concerns from planning, no concerns from development and engineering, no concerns from planning. And like I said, we did submit 10 letters of support. The variances are all minor in nature and consistent with what's been approved here at the committee, and those can be seen from page 1 to 14.
Yes.
And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Mastrandrea, or let's hear from the neighbor and he'll have a chance to respond. But before we move on to the neighbor, which is the one objecting party next door, no questions? Okay, so I believe we have with us the neighbor at 4A, LUNNESS, Mr. Tu.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and all committee members. I am Yan Chu.
Okay, yeah, we have your letter. We have your letter about your concern about what's being proposed here. Your
Yes.
concern is with the side yard setback, 1.2 meters.
Yes.
Required were 0.91, so it's basically a foot less than, and you're on the north and 0.76. So you're concerned you're on the north side lot line? Because you highlighted that. You did that one in bold. Yeah.
We are facing east, but we are on the south side, right?
Yes. Okay,
North
so
side.
You're concerned with the house. You're saying the proposed two houses will build closer 1 foot and taller 1.5 meters than my house. So you're saying the house is 1.5 meters higher and it's 1 foot closer than it should be. And that'll block your sunlight.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And recently, my mother has diagnosed with osteoporosis and rheumatoid arthritis.
Yes.
And this is a debilitating condition that affects her.
Yes, we saw that you're mentioning in your letter about the quality for the sunlight and her mental health, and she plants indoor plants in the kitchen on that south wall.
Yes.
The thing is, if that, we want to hear from the applicant, but if it was 1 foot further away, only 1 foot, would that improve her condition? Would it improve the light, or is it still going to be blocked?
Still going to be blocked because they're going to be taller.
Yeah. So even if it's going to be blocked in any way, unfortunately.
Yes.
Even if he was to go back an extra foot, it would still block the light.
But not that much, at least, right? If they build closer and taller, then they're going to completely block them.
Okay. Okay, so we have your letter, and the committee members, does anyone have any questions for the neighbor next door at 4A?
May I say one more thing, sir?
Sorry? Does anyone have a question? Ms. Chu, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, yes, yes. We understand that the desire to have a bigger house, right? But however, the development should not to be instrumental to your neighbor's well-being and right to have access to equal, appropriate space and sufficient sunlight. That's all we concern. Because my mother's condition is in a difficult situation now. She's have a limited mobility in the long-term life, right? So our kitchen sunlight is the only sunlight that she can enjoy in the near future.
Okay, so your position is that you want the committee to not grant the side yard variance or the height variance because you think the impact. Yeah.
For both.
The side yard setback in your letter and the height. That's your two complaints, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Tu? Or we'll move back to Mr. Mastroandrea to respond to her concerns. Okay. Oh, Mr. Taylor, sorry, I see your hand up. I didn't. You have a question for the neighbor?
Yes, I do. Mrs. Chu, could you please repeat for me what your address is?
Number 4A LUNNESS Road, just next beside the proposed house.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mastroandrea?
Yes, hello?
Hello?
Yes.
If you're listening into the neighbor's concerns, she doesn't like the fact that it's a little closer than it should, foot closer. I assume, is she on the side where where it's 0.9?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so she's actually getting, yeah.
So I am very sympathetic to the neighbors' health issues. But unfortunately, we don't have any variance for the rear yard setback or for the building length. And our house exceeds their rear yard by approximately a meter. So she would have the whole sunlight in the whole backyard going into that cove in the afternoon. And regardless of what structure we build there, even if it's at 4 feet, regardless of the size, would always block that side window. So there's nothing we can do about that. And I'm sorry, I apologize for this.
Okay, so yes, basically your depth and length already go beyond, but that's not even a variance. You're doing that as of right. So no one can complain about that. And you're saying, as I was trying to get to her as well, that extra foot would not ameliorate her situation from what you can do as of right.
Yes, and we did lower the height to try to address their concerns. Our initial, we removed about 4 variances from our original application. We also had an overall height of 9.7 meters, which we removed completely.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. This matter was deferred from December 3rd, 2020. Just to clarify, you recall, what was the purpose of that deferral? I guess I can find the minutes.
Well, the purpose of the deferral, variance number 7 was missed. Okay. And it's only regarding for the front wall, main wall height. It's just those 2 architectural features, peaks in the front of the property.
Okay, yeah, so it was just because there was some misidentification of variances. I'm just looking here, so it was not, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, or I'll see if committee members have any follow-up questions, or if someone's ready for a motion. And is there urban forestry on this as well? Where's my notes? Is there forestry comments on this? Leo?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chair,
there are forestry
2 and 3.
Okay, 2 and 3. Okay, very good. Okay, committee members, any follow-up questions for either Mr. Mastrandrea or the neighbor at 4A, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? And I believe we have a planning report for information only. They have no further concerns. We also have the standard engineering conditions on a severance. It doesn't have any hidden deferral requests in there. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, John Taylor, I'm prepared to make a motion. I move, with respect to the consent, I move approval. I find the lot configuration to be very similar to the predominant lotting pattern on the street and in the neighborhood. So I move for approval of the consent subject to the standard conditions of consent. With respect to the variances, I find them all to be in keeping with the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval of them subject to urban forestry conditions 2 and 3, and the conditions requested of engineering and construction services and transportation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. We have a seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion.
Neil Palmer, I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. All in favor? Okay, the application is unanimously approved. Thank you, Ms. Tu, and thank you, Mr. Mastrandrea.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Okay, it's now 6:15 and we are adjourned.
Thanks, good night.